So I want to do a run through, roughly, of these kind of various ideas that I have swimming around in my head for this marinera alternate demo. So right now, kind of what I've been thinking is that Juan Diego's self-titled, which is a collaboration that I'm doing with my friend, the producer. You know, he's really taking a lot of time to make it sound very polished and high-end, which I like and I'm thankful for, because that's something that's eluded me for a long time. And I've kind of leaned into the rough look, rough aesthetic, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I've been wanting something to contrast it, to kind of come out around the same time. And I wanted this marinera project, which is the one that's based around all these like Peruvian samples. And there's even one sample there that's actually from I don't want to say the name of the culture in case I get it wrong, but I had found it and it just fit perfectly, which says a lot about the nature of music and people and how these different sounds can be across continents and still we look for the same things. But yeah, that one is a closer. And I think it's from the Sahel. I don't know exactly how to say it. So I have all these like rough ideas in terms of do I want to make it like a short film style thing, but I really like this idea of like how they used to make like a series of music videos, and they were all like more based around dance and interpretation of a story through dance of the story of the music. That I wanted to do something like that, whether that be like a short film type of thing with all these different like interconnected vignettes, or if I make it like a live performance, which is, I don't think it's something that I could really do by myself. And it would be taken from a lot of different sources, whether it be, directly telling that Juan Diego myth, or that it be like all these different scenes from, my childhood into like early adulthood, and telling that story and kind of having that all intermingled. So the first one is Cordero de Dios. And it's me kind of harmonizing, sort of, I can't really sing, so I had a lot of distortion on it. It sounds cheap, like I'll be blunt, like this whole thing sounds pretty cheap, but I've been trying to lean into that, in a way that it sounds, purposeful. There are some things that sound cheap that I don't do, some things that sound cheap that I do. And that first one, I'm not sure yet, to be honest. So that one, I saw this image in my head because at the last part when I stopped singing, and it's just this string bowed instrument being played, I can just see, these two kids dancing, thinking about like me and, back when we were kids and we had first met and what that was like. So I seen that image in my head. And then the second one is this whole story. Like, honestly, the song, it's untouched in terms of arrangement. Like, I haven't chopped it up and moved things around or, pitched anything or added anything. The only thing that I've really done is shifted the mix. What I did was I ran the entire master of the song through Isotope. It's like this mastering plugin that you can slightly shift the mix, and I boosted the drums on it. And then what I did was kind of low pass the entire master track, so that I was only getting the lowest frequencies of the song. And then I would put Devious Machines texturizer, and with texturizer you can basically like map sounds to be inputted by like a sound input. So the lowest frequencies in the master of the song, I then switched it to be soloed as it's hitting just a low sub note. So that means that when you play them both at the same time, these two tracks, you have this low sub note that's hitting exactly whenever the lowest drums in the original song would be playing. so you can layer a sub on it without it sounding programmed. It could sound like it was there initially. So I did that to the whole thing to give it some real, the low end that we expect. And I had ideas for, like, maybe I would do a vocal performance over top of it where I would be following, the rhythm of the drums. And I would just straight up just do that, just the whole song. I would have my verse playing and I would follow the rhythm of the percussion, because there is like a woman's voice singing throughout the whole song, and she's telling the whole story. And I had this idea that I wanted to, so that she's singing in Spanish and I was going to do the vocal on top in English and just have them, both vocals just going at the same time. And while she told the story, I told another story on top of it that was kind of similar in theme, but, kind of contrasted. And I had this idea to do that, and it hasn't come to me naturally, the words. But what I do see similarly is, the interpretation of the story visually. Like, that's the first one that I initially thought, if I wanted to make this some type of dance, some type of long, like the way that they would tell stories through ballet and things like that, that was the first song that I thought of that, this should really happen. And the story, there's this imagery of, like, these women, being forced to shave their heads, and jealousy and cheating, and I see all these different themes and ideas, and same thing, reminds me of someone, and telling our story through that too. And it's one of those things where it's like you don't do these things to condemn. Like when you make this art, you don't do it to condemn. You don't do it to judge. You don't do it to, it's just not something that I like say to look down on anybody. Not them, not myself, not anybody. It's just, there comes a point in time when, you have to tell the truth in a manner that can be understood. And it's something that has to be articulated. I wouldn't even say like to find the beauty in it. It's just, when you have the truth, you have to tell it. So I have this whole story that I'm trying to tell in that one, and I see this specific part where what I like a lot about this song is that it really rises and falls, and there's these moments of tension where the drums the song stops and the drums hit and they get really staccato, sharp. They get loud on the mix. They actually clip. So if you want to, like, I mastered it, like, just basically ramming it into isotope maximizer. But like these parts were like massive clipping, like you could see it on the graphs and everything like that. But who cares about that? It sounds good. And in that I saw this like shoulder move that I wanted to really hit really hard in terms of the dance, and it seemed like this. The whole thing is really like relationships, like love and the push and pull and fall forward, fall back of it between two people over the years. So I guess the first one is like childhood, like Cordero de Dios, I would hear that when I went to church. The second one is this marinera. That one is like, the teenage years, followed by one that's kind of more like an interlude, that's called Glory. I'm not sure exactly 100% what I want to do vocally on it. Like I had this idea, like maybe I just want to like do this kind of free form verse on it where it's not really like on any particular rhythm or flow. It's just get on there, say the first things that you feel, and or maybe even just like speak, don't even have to have it on rhythm or anything, and it'll just be that. And then it kind of it builds into this kind of gospel hand clap style, like build up, that I really like a lot. And I was able to find a way to kind of run it through some timing plugins with like Shaperbox 3 and everything like that, where you can kind of slightly alter the timing and the pitch, or like modulated, so that way it can feel like more like this is a live thing that I recorded, instead of like something that I programmed. Because I was taking all these gospel sounds that I found from like a Spectrasonics library, and I just called it Glory for now. It really builds like glory. I really like that a lot. From there, you get to this song that I really like a lot, where I mashed up two different songs from that Peruvian album, where one of them was just purely flute, and then the other one was purely drums. And I heard that, and I was like, wow, I can't believe that this is so perfect. This one is purely flute, one is purely drums. So, like, you know, on some hip-hop rap shit, like, what do? You combine them. So it sounds like I just straight up, like, ripped the master. Like, it sounds like that's how it was supposed to be, you know, the way that I put it together. I didn't even do that much editing to it, which I like quite a bit. But that one, you can tell it's looped, but it does sound natural. And it sounds like a party. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like a celebration. So I wanted that one to be this, like, the song is called Who to Be. And that one is like this like rising tension, you know what I'm saying? And the words of it I actually wrote, you know, when I was here in Mexico, fall 2024. And, you know, it's just this question of who to be. And I had this, like, kind of chorus sort of thing that I really like a lot that I did, where it's like, so what's well, go on, rip the skin out the face, into a tone, burn the blood and flesh out the bone, never alone, triptych off the symbol and code, into a tone, burn the blood and flesh out the bone, see for less felt, faces off the skull to be break, into a tone, burn the blood and flesh out the bone, never alone. Some. The whole thing is really about one person, obviously. You know, this whole image of ripping your flesh off of your bone, and, you know, asking yourself who to be. You can kind of see where that's going. But that one's very vibrant, and I like it quite a bit. And I initially had those lyrics to another song, and people actually liked it quite a bit. You know, one time when I played it at somebody's home, it was actually on May 2025. I had it initially for that God is Going to Raise a Nation, but I figured that God is Going to Raise a Nation, lyrically, I'm just going to start from scratch. You know, I'm just going to strip it all and completely rewrite it. And the verses that I wrote for it, they fit much better with these other things that I'm working on. So that one is this very lively performance. And that one, I see, like, another thing that I want to mention is, like, it's probably the most sexual, like, feeling-wise of all the music. You know, that one, it feels like sex. You know, it feels like that vibrant, you know, back and forth between somebody. And you could even, you know, spend hours talking about, you know, why I say that after everything that I just said about it. But those are my experiences, you know, at the end of the day. And the way that I kind of juxtapose the both and have them be both together, I hope people will just see, not out of, like, again, condemnation or anything. It's just, you know, this is just the world that I inherited. Everything. I inherited all of this. I just been put in all this, and then I had this idea that I had to do what's right, and, you know, I failed and it didn't work. So from there you get this next track, which is like it's about, like, again, like, early childhood period, like, just feeling like wild, you know, feels like wild and free. Called Nomadic. And you could take it a lot of different ways. You know, it is, again, about that same person, but it's also about just never having a home. You know, never having a place that you belong, and what that does too. Because, you know, as a young child, you have to feel like you have a home, but at the same time you crave, you know, that freedom from it. But if you never have a home that you know, feel home in, you're going to run everywhere else to find it. You know, you're going to constantly travel from one place to another. And, you know, it's dangerous for some people to do that. And I have these, like, that one is interesting because I did the similar technique in terms of adding the sub that I did on the Marinera song. But that one is just purely guitar. Or I don't even know it's guitar. It's chirango, I don't know exactly. but it's just somebody singing in like this really odd voice, this deep voice, and the way it's recorded has this like muddy quality that I like quite a bit, whereas the guitar's type instrument is like very sharp on top of the voice. And then I put my voice in it as well to kind of muddy it up too. And then I had the sub going, and then I have all these snippets of when I was chasing my cousins, and she was having a fun time. What else? That one needs to feel the most loose, like even like I said, this Who to Be song with the flute, that one is still coordinated. Pneumatic needs to feel the most loose because of what I just said, just wild, there's no drums even grounding it. I could see even this vision of like when I went to the mental hospital, that's playing, and I see myself like hanging out of a car, saying performing it, driving over a dirt road fast, And then the last one is this, I call it That I Need You because, again, I don't 100% know the language, but, the way that I chop the sample and everything, I like this a lot. When you chop the sample, you take in whatever sounds you take in, then you just include like a portion of the vocals, just like real quick. And I was like, what does it sound like in English? And it sounds like it's saying that I need you. That I need you. That I need you. And I like it a lot. And I just started kind of, I just put record, went in front of the microphone, and I just started kind of harmonizing along a little bit. And then I chopped out some parts that I did that I didn't like, and I kept the rest. And I think I modulated the volume a little bit. But other than that, I didn't really do much else to the vocal. And I just kept it like that. It's really low in the mix. It's kind of like a background thing, but I like it a lot. That one feels the most recent. Like it feels like, my early to mid 20s, trying to make it work, trying to be there, trying to stay with someone, because you do need them. Didn't work out though. It's fine. That one is like, it just feels conclusive to me. Feels like the end. That one just feels like those little moments, crying, and then after you've cried so hard, like you just kind of stop, you're just empty for a second, everything's gone, you feel.